We're talking about 17 kids in one classroom. I want to know what happened in that classroom. Why just her classroom? Why only her?
They are our children.
I love those kids.
2 years ago in Maybrook, a teacher named Justine walked into her classroom and found it empty, except for one student, Alex Lilly. The night before, at 2:17 a.m., Justine's other 17 students mysteriously left their homes, walking into the darkness with their arms stretched out. Security cameras captured their movements, but there was no sign of anyone forcing them to leave. The police questioned Justine and Alex many times, but neither could explain what happened. The school remained closed for a month while investigators searched the area, but they found nothing. When the school was set to reopen, the town gathered for a meeting led by Principal Marcus. Most parents blamed Justine for the disappearances, accusing her of somehow causing the children to leave. She tried to explain that she cared deeply for her students, but her words were met with anger and insults. Marcus defended her, but parents turned on him too, calling him an accomplice. A detective had to escort Justine out of the building to protect her from the angry crowd. Shaken, Justine went to a store to buy alcohol, trying to cope with the stress. Suddenly she received a call from an unknown number. A threatening voice spoke on the line, and she hung up immediately. On her way home, a man named James, a known junkie, asked her for change, but she ignored him. Later, at her house, she heard the doorbell but was too afraid to answer. Looking through the peephole, she saw no one. But when someone knocked at the door, she cautiously stepped outside and found graffiti painted on her car. The next morning, she tried to wash it off, but it wouldn't come clean. She had to drive to school with the vandalized car. Marcus placed her on a leave of absence and urged her to take care of her mental health. Alex had already been moved to another class and was doing well. Justine wanted to speak to him, but Marcus refused, saying she often crossed professional boundaries, like hugging a crying child or driving a student home after missing the bus. Frustrated, Justine returned to her car and broke down. Later, she filed a report at the police station about the vandalism and threatening calls. Her ex-boyfriend, Paul, passed by, leading to an awkward moment. That evening, they met at a bar where Paul expressed concern for her situation. Justine assured him she could handle things herself. Paul also revealed that he and his wife were no longer together. Justine ends up going to her home with Paul, and things get messy between them. The next morning, she drives Paul back to his place and mentions that the police aren't putting enough effort into the case. Later, she stops at the school to wait for the bus to take the children home. When Alex is dropped off, Justine follows him to his house. She rings the bell and knocks, but there's no answer. All the windows are covered with newspapers, so a worried Justine climbs over the fence to check the backyard. She notices a small gap in one of the windows, allowing her to peek inside. Startled, she sees two people through the glass. Stepping back, she trips over some objects, but the noise doesn't seem to attract anyone's attention. Looking again, she discovers that Alex's parents are sitting motionless on the couch. Justine calls Marcus to tell him what she found, but he scolds her for following Alex. Later, at the grocery store, Paul's wife, Donna, suddenly attacks Justine. She knows Justine was with Paul the night before. Justine tries to explain that Paul claimed he was single, but Donna doesn't believe her and pours alcohol over her. A store clerk intervenes and drags Donna away. That night, Justine has a disturbing dream. She finds herself back at school, but all the students have their faces buried on their desks. Suddenly, Alex looks up wearing clown makeup and smiles eerily. Justine wakes up in shock. Later, she hears a strange noise in the house. Looking around, she sees nothing, lies back down, and then screams when she notices a creepy red-haired woman on the ceiling, who disappears almost instantly. The next day, Justine waits for Alex to come home from school. She asks if he's okay, and he replies that he is before walking away. When she tries to follow him, he yells at her and rushes inside his house. Justine continues ringing the doorbell and knocking, but nobody answers. She spends the day sitting in her car, eventually falling asleep. In the evening, someone finally leaves the house, and cuts a lock of Justine's hair before getting back inside. Meanwhile, Archer is sinking deeper into depression after his son's disappearance. He spends hours watching security footage, becomes increasingly distracted at work, and repeatedly visits the police for updates. Captain Locke reassures him there are no new leads and insists there's no reason to suspect Justine. At a school meeting, Archer is one of the parents who insults Justine and even vandalizes her car. His depression worsens to the point where he starts sleeping in his son's bedroom. One night, he wakes up to find himself still in bed, as if he's dreaming. Hearing a noise, he investigates and sees the front door opening on its own. Archer rushes outside and sees his son running away. He follows him but ends up back home after walking through the bushes. As the boy enters the house, a massive weapon marked with the number 217 appears above it. Archer returns to the bedroom and finds his son asleep, apologizing for not being a more loving father. In that moment, the boy's face transforms into the creepy red-haired woman, and Archer wakes up. The next morning, Archer notices a strange tower in the woods and comes up with an idea. Using a map, He draws a line linking his home to the direction Alex ran, then visits other houses where children have gone missing, asking to see their security footage. The first parent refuses, but the next one agrees. Archer watches the direction the child takes and marks it on his map with another line, thinking that the point where the lines meet will reveal the answer. As he heads toward that spot, Archer sees Justine at a gas station and stops to shout at her. At that moment, Justine notices Marcus running, his face covered in blood and his arms stretched out like the children. Marcus suddenly tackles her to the ground and tries to choke her. Archer intervenes, but Marcus knocks him down. This gives Justine the chance to escape into the store. Marcus attempts to follow, but Archer kicks him, only to be overpowered again as Marcus tackles him and tries to choke him. A few days earlier, Paul is on patrol when he spots James acting suspiciously. He follows him and catches James attempting to break into a house. James runs, prompting a chase. Initially, Paul follows in his car, but when the roads become tight, he continues on foot. Paul tackles James, handcuffs him, and listens as James explains he was trying to enter his own home after losing his keys. While searching James' pockets, Paul accidentally pricks his finger on a used needle and, in anger, punches James. He rushes to the car for a first aid kit and realizes his dash cam recorded the whole incident. Panicked, Paul lets James go, saying they are even and asking him to leave town. Later, at the station, Locke reassures Paul that everything will be fine as long as James doesn't report what happened. That night, Paul goes on a date with Justine. When he returns home in the morning, he finds Donna arrived earlier than expected, and his awkward behavior quickly reveals his actions to her. Back at work, Paul sees James outside the station and yells at him, prompting James to flee. Paul follows him by car after disconnecting the dash cam. Flashing back, James is revealed to be a junkie living in a tent in the woods. When out of drugs, he scavenges for unlocked cars and steals items to sell for a few dollars. One day, James tries to break into a house, assuming it's empty because the windows are covered and the mail has piled up. Inside, he's startled to find Alex's scarred parents sitting motionless on the couch. Undeterred, James steals what he can, ignoring noises from upstairs. When he goes to leave, a voice from the basement frightens him. Investigating, he finds all the missing children standing there. Terrified, James flees, moving furniture to block the door. Alex's parents rise and chase him out. Later, while selling stolen items at a pawn shop, James sees a reward poster for information on the missing children. He uses the money to buy drugs, then calls the police to report the children's location. The officer is skeptical and asks James to come in for questioning. When James approaches the station, Paul spots him and yells, causing James to hide in the forest. A red-headed woman appears, prompting James to retreat to his tent. A shadow outside the tent makes James attack with his needles, only to discover it's Paul. Paul drags James out, pointing a gun, and James claims he knows where the children are. Following James' directions, Paul reaches the Lily's house. Hours pass, and at night, Paul emerges, dragging James into the house as if in a trance. James screams, but no one hears him. Meanwhile, Marcus is at a supermarket when he receives Justine's call about what she saw. Marcus promises to speak with Alex's parents to investigate. On the day of the meeting, a red-headed woman arrives instead, Alex's aunt, Gladys, explaining that Alex's parents are too ill to leave the house. Marcus tells her that due to a welfare complaint, he must speak to the child's legal guardians or contact authorities. The next day, Gladys visits Marcus' home. When she asks for water, she insists it be served in a bowl. Gladys wants to know if Marcus has contacted the authorities. When he says no, she takes a ribbon she had stolen from his office and ties it around a strange-looking branch, covering it with her own blood. When Marcus' husband, Terry, approaches with a cloth to help her injury, Gladys cuts off a lock of his hair. Marcus tries to call the police, but Gladys rings a bell, which puts him in a trance and causes him to drop the phone. As Marcus begins to tremble, Gladys wraps Terry's hair around the branch and breaks it. Suddenly, Marcus attacks Terry, vomiting a black liquid on his face while choking him. He continues to repeatedly headbutt Terry until he dies. Marcus only stops when Gladys throws the branch into a bowl. After washing it, she removes Terry's hair and wraps a lock of Justine's hair around it, breaking it again. This sends Marcus on a mission to kill Justine. At a gas station, the chase begins. After subduing Archer, Marcus storms into the store to pursue Justine. She tries to hide in an employee's room, but it's locked. Marcus corners her, but Archer tackles him against a fridge, giving Justine the chance to escape to her car. Marcus follows, smashing a window, and chases her as she drives away. Archer joins the pursuit, but Marcus is eventually hit by another vehicle, leaving the other driver horrified at the scene. Later, at the hospital, Archer tells the police everything. Justine waits for him afterward to thank him. Archer, now convinced of her innocence, shows her a map marked with a location. Justine recognizes it as Alex's house. The story then jumps back in time to Alex before the disappearances. Alex is a shy, lonely boy, often bullied at school. His parents are loving and happy, and one day they inform him that his aunt, Gladys, will be staying with them due to illness. Gladys arrives at night. The next morning, Alex peeks into her room and notices a red wig and a small tree with strange branches. Seeing Gladys staring at him, he quickly closes the door. After school, when no one comes to pick him up, Alex walks home. Inside, he finds his parents at the table, speaking coldly and robotically. A healthy-looking Gladys welcomes him and insists his parents are fine. Terrified, Alex refuses her touch and throws water at his father, who brushes it off. Gladys scolds him and sends him to his room without dinner. The next morning, he finds his parents at the table again, now with red eyes and frozen in place. Gladys instructs him not to tell anyone she is there or about his parents' condition. She demonstrates her power by breaking a branch over a bowl and forcing the parents to stab themselves repeatedly, stopping only when she throws the branch into the water. She warns Alex of worse consequences if he disobeys. Over the following days, Alex continues a routine, going to school, getting groceries, and feeding his parents. One night, he finds Gladys weak and vomiting into a pot. She explains that she is sick and that his parents cannot help her anymore. To aid her, she needs Alex to collect an object from each of his classmates. The next morning, Alex sneaks into the classroom during gym and takes name tags from the students' bins. Justine notices him acting unusually quiet and offers support, but Alex pretends everything is normal. At home, he leaves the tags outside Gladys' door. In the middle of the night, Alex wakes to find Gladys breaking the tags into a bowl, spitting in it, throwing a match, and ringing a bell. At that moment, all of Alex's classmates run from their homes into Alex's house. During the investigation, Gladys applies makeup to Alex's father and tells the police he suffered a stroke and cannot speak, claiming she is caring for the family. Anticipating the police search, she makes Alex clean the house and remove newspaper from the windows. She then cuts the children's hair to perform a spell, forcing them to hide in the forest, while Alex continues to feed them along with his parents. One day, he comes home from school and notices a police car parked outside. When he enters the house, he finds Paul and James standing in the middle of the room. Panicked, he runs upstairs to hide, only to be stopped by Gladys, who tells him they are leaving town the next day. She warns him not to cross the salt line by her door, which is being guarded by his parents. Minutes later, Justine and Archer arrive and see Paul stepping out of the house. He waves at them briefly before going back inside. Curious, they decide to follow him, but Alex notices them from the window. Inside, Paul signals Justine, who steps closer and accidentally crosses the salt line. Immediately, James tackles Archer. Archer fights back, but his attacks cause no harm. Paul then goes after Justine, chasing her into the kitchen. She throws a pan at him, but he is unfazed and leaps over the table to grab her. Desperate, Justine grabs a peeler and scratches his face, but it does not stop him, and he continues choking her. Upstairs, Alex ignores the chaos and crosses the salt line. His parents freeze momentarily before chasing after him. He runs to his room and locks the door, forcing his parents to start breaking it down. Alex moves to the bathroom, then back to the corridor, and finally hides in Gladys' bedroom. Hearing his parents breaking in again, he quickly grabs a branch from the tree and hides in the private bathroom, smearing it with some of his blood. Meanwhile, Archer continues fighting James, who recovers and attacks him relentlessly. Eventually, James tackles Archer through the basement door, revealing all the children. Justine grabs Paul's gun and shoots him in the neck. Although he bleeds a black liquid, he remains standing, leaving her no choice but to shoot him in the head. She then rushes to the basement and shoots James as well. A panicked Archer searches for his son but is interrupted by Gladys, who tears his necklace from his neck. Suddenly, Archer surprises Justine from behind, choking her as Gladys watches. At the same time, Alex takes a hair from Justine's wig, wraps it around the branch, and breaks it. The children then flee the basement in pursuit of Gladys, who runs out of the house. They follow her through the neighborhood, breaking windows and climbing fences as they go. Eventually, a girl tackles Gladys to the ground, and the children overpower her, killing her. Her death breaks the spell over Archer and Alex's parents. Justine finds Alex hugging his relieved parents. Archer reunites with his son, following the trail of destruction. After the incident, Alex's parents are institutionalized, and he goes to live with a kinder aunt. The other children are slowly reunited with their families, taking time to regain their voices and composure. If you enjoyed this movie recap, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.